Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 197 of the RRBG Podcast. The RRBG Podcast is a proud member of the Podbelly Network. Go to podbelly.com to check out the list of amazing shows that we got going on, including Robots for Eyes, and if you're into something a little more on the paranormal side, there's Paranormal Punchers. If you'd like to take a deep dive into the dark multiverse of Stephen King, there's a podcast for that as well. Tons of great shows, all about different topics. I'm sure you'll find something you'll love. Go to podbelly.com and support the network. Valentine's Day is coming up. You know what that means? Time to get a gift. There's no more traditional gift for Valentine's Day than underwear. If you've got a boyfriend, the sheath underwear come with a little pouch that carries his boys around and not only gives him an incredible amount of support, but also gives a nice dick print, if you know what I'm saying. The ladies appreciate it, the men appreciate it, everybody appreciates it. And if your significant other is a female, well, guess what? They have female underwear as well, and it's super soft to the touch. You're going to have this internal struggle in your head about whether or not you want to even take it off of her. Go to sheathunderwear.com, use my promo code RRBG, and save 20%. It's a win-win for everyone. And guess what? I know what you're saying. Oh, I'm single on Valentine's Day. Well, get yourself some sheath underwear, and you'll never be single again. This podcast is also brought to you by Yucateco Hot Sauce. You know, I got to tell you, I've been eating a lot more Mexican food these days as I live in LA, and it's just inevitable at this point. So having a really good hot sauce at my disposal is kind of crucial. And my go-to right now is Yucateco Hot Sauce. They are a staple. They come in so many different flavors. You can get the verde sauce with jalapenos, or you can get the habanero sauce. They have this special black sauce, which is a special reserve sauce. I mean, for whatever level Scoville you can handle, I'm sure you can find yourself a sauce here. And if you go to shop.yucateco.com, use the promo code RRBG, and you'll get 10% off of your purchase. This podcast is also brought to you by Saints Joints. Go to saintsjoints.com and check out all the awesome products they have there, including the new Book of Saints that comes with 4 packs of pre-rolled joints. It's this incredible, lavish, luxurious-looking gold foil stash box. The works. It's the best-looking stash box I've seen. Make sure to go pick one up before they're all gone. And also check out the new hash-infused pre-rolls. Don't forget, it's saintsjoints.com, and make sure you tell them that we sent you. In this episode, I talked to professional wrestler Chris Dickinson. We talk about his upcoming match on Josh Barnett's Bloodsport 4 against Jeff Cobb. We talk about his pro wrestling career and how he got his start to now wrestling at New Japan Pro Wrestling. We talked a lot about metal music. We named some of his favorite bands. We talked a lot about drums. We nerded out about music and touring and creating instruments and listening to different sounds. It was a great conversation, and I hope you guys enjoy it. Make sure to follow him on Instagram at Born Dirty Die Dirty or on Twitter at Dirty Dickinson. Don't miss out on Josh Barnett's Bloodsport. Go to bloodsport.watch to order the pay-per-view February 13th and watch him go up against Jeff Cobb. And please check out the Patreon page. Go to patreon.com/RRBG. Cheers. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing good, man. How are you?
Good. Welcome, everyone, to the RRBG podcast. I'm here with the Dirty Daddy.
What's up?
Chris Dickinson.
What's going on? How's everybody doing out there? Just chilling.
Everybody's literally got nothing.
Watching this movie. This movie just started. I've never even heard of it. It's like Charlie Sheen. I saw his name. It's like some car. It's so 80s. I was just watching like the first 20 minutes of Highlander 2. It looked terrible. It was so bad.
I don't remember Highlander 2 at all.
I don't want to even remember what I just saw. It's like Sean Connery was just alive again. It's like, what? I don't know.
Yeah, no. I think I liked the first one, but I saw it so long ago.
The first one's great.
Okay. Yeah, I haven't revisited, so I don't know, man. There's so many movies I need to go back and watch that I watched when I was a kid, you know?
Yeah.
And I feel that way about wrestling matches lately. I keep going back and watching shit that I watched when I was a kid and thinking it was incredible, and then like that wasn't that great.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's true. And there's things that I actually used to think that maybe weren't that great that I go back and I watch and I think it's great.
Right. Yeah. There's that aspect too. So I have you on here. You got a match coming up this weekend.
Yes, I do.
I mean, it's Josh Barnett's Bloodsport 4. You've been in like all of them or most of them, right?
I think I've been on every Bloodsport, yeah.
You've been on every Bloodsport?
Uh-huh.
How would you rate this one amongst the previous ones that you've done?
This one's so cool because it's going to be so different. It's going to be unlike anything that you've seen from Bloodsport yet. Unlike anything you've seen from GCW. I imagine this is going to be really special. This is going to be it's an event for sure.
Nice. Mm-hmm. I'm excited to see it, man. I mean, I'm a little, I had this conversation with Josh about the crowd situation. I'm like, if there's any wrestling that can pull this off, it's you guys. It's Bloodsport.
Yeah.
Because the violence alone, it makes it more violent, I guess. More visceral, more raw when it's just the two dudes fighting with no audience.
Well, I mean, I've been doing it for like the last year now, working for various companies, these closed studio tapings. But to be honest, I've been doing it for like a long time. I was a part of the original Beyond Wrestling when it was kind of like the infancy of what this all is now, of a closed studio environment with just wrestlers around the ring, a few people, and kind of just going at it and then putting it on YouTube, and wrestlers wrestling for wrestlers, and just kind of like artistic expression, I guess, type stuff. And then eventually that snowballed and manifested into a thing. And now going back to it the last year so much, working for various companies in this type of setting, I was having a conversation today with another wrestler about how we both really miss wrestling in front of an audience and, wrestling in front of a really good crowd and all that. But there is something really cool about the closed studio stuff too. It really makes you have to tap into something a little bit different. It really makes you have to think outside the box a little bit more. It really makes you have to turn it on just a little bit. You really gotta be focused. You gotta be prepared, and you have to be like 100%. Like, you know what I mean? Because it's all you. Usually when there is an audience, sometimes it tends to kind of sometimes a match could take on a life of its own. You know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah.
But now it's just so much more. You're so focused.
Yeah. You can't be fucking around. You can't miss because all eyes are on you, and even though in a live setting, all eyes are on you as well. But there's also, the live distractions, the dude selling the hot dog or whatever. And, there's things that can get in your way when you're at a live show that when you're at home and there's just a camera pointing at you, that's where the focus is at.
Yeah, exactly. You have to recognize the only people that are going to see this are seeing this through the camera lens. Yeah. So it does change it up. It does.
That's great, man. I mean, I've enjoyed what some of the companies are doing. Obviously, there's something about wrestling with an audience that just can't. I don't want this stuff to go away either. I've noticed a lot of bands are putting together these really cool live streams, high production. A lot of creativity behind it, and I don't want that to go away. Even if we go back to normal and there's live shows and everybody's going out, I still want you guys to do cool shit like that.
Yeah, I'm sure it won't. I'm sure in some capacity it's because you got to look at the WWE situation right now, right? It's like they're still making like tons of money, right? Or so they say, and their overhead is probably so much less now because they're not running live events. There's people that say they'll probably never go back to running live shows again. Who knows?
Shit, man, I don't know.
That's something that you hear. You hear. So.
I know that they were talking about they're doing WrestleMania where they did the Super Bowl, and then that they liked what the Super Bowl did with this mix of people with cardboard cutouts. I guess.
Whatever.
I think I'd feel really weird standing in the crowd and there's a cardboard cutout next to me.
I thought the cardboard cutout thing was cool when they first started doing it in the baseball season, and you were seeing like ridiculous ones. But
yeah,
I thought that was kind of funny.
Yeah, it's also cool because like some people here in LA, the comedians that I'm friends with, they bought one out for like a comedian that had passed away.
Yeah.
So he was a huge fan. So it was cool to like have him at as like a tribute. So I was like, that's a cool idea.
Yeah.
Put some tributes out there, but we'll see. Hopefully, we do get some live shows back. Because I mean, I know you're into metal too. I mean, I see the Anthrax poster.
Oh, so, yeah. Actually, I wasn't even intentionally putting the camera there so you could see it. It's just there. Yeah.
But it shows. I know that you gotta miss mosh pits and shit.
Yeah, I kind of got out of going in the mosh pits a while ago. I didn't want to get hurt accidentally because like the last time I really was going to shows was right around the time I actually got knee surgery. I remember. And it was like 20. It was a long time ago. It was when I was like still buying tickets to go to concerts. I haven't been to shows. I've been to a couple shows. The last show I actually went to, I think, was like Phil Collins. To be honest. But
metal as fuck, man. Metal as fuck.
Yeah. So I definitely got out of the mosh pit life. But when I was like a teenager and like in my late teens, early 20s, yeah, I used to love going in the mosh pits at like death metal shows and thrash metal shows.
So you're not like Josh, who's out there fucking tossing kids off of stages.
No,
and stuff?
he like tells me these stories. He goes and he loves it. He still gets into it. I haven't been in that situation in such a long time at this point. I wouldn't even know how to react. I'd be like standing back, like, oh God, I don't want to get hurt.
I feel like that's what's going to happen when we do get back to shows. People are going to be all apprehensive and weird. Like,
the mosh pit's not a work, man. Like, like there's something I've gotten smashed bad in mosh pits before. Like, just really, like, I don't. It's just the perfect recipe to like blow out a knee or something.
Yeah, oh yeah, dude. Last concert, it was Every Time I Die, and which is Josh's homie, also a pro wrestler, Andy Williams. I blew out my knee last time I saw them, dude.
I'm not trying to blow. Like, you could tell me, I'm a pretty laid back guy these days. I don't need to get in the pit almost. But I feel like back in the day too, I spent so much more time getting crazy throughout the whole show of some of the shows I went to, or to get in the mosh pit. There was almost like you forget to even really know what's going on. But you start missing the show. Yeah, there's nothing like it though. So especially, I saw some great shows. In the city, when I was still going to death metal shows, like my favorite band to see live, the last like band I really liked seeing live was Hate Eternal. They were like that was a band you could kind of like just sit back and watch and be like, oh my God, I can't believe they could play all this stuff live. It sounds this good, Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, dude, it's funny. I've been in a number of fights. I used to do jujitsu a lot. I've been through some shit, and I've only ever lost a tooth in a mosh pit.
Oh yeah,
that's how fucking intense.
I had my nose smashed once so bad, and I think honestly I broke my nose like four times. I'd count that as one of them. I like the middle of your nose, the septum or whatever.
Yeah,
I mean, it's like part of it. And my nose is like smashed to one side way further because of a shot I took from someone in a mosh pit.
Have you looked into fixing that?
No, I've had to have my nose broken back into place though. Like this bone over here would be on like this side or this side. I have like really bad.
So just move it around, snap it back into place.
I got it. I used to just make the guys do it. One guy I trained with, he was like a physician's assistant. He just did it on the spot. It's like really hard. 2 clicks over. It's not that bad.
So I mean, does that affect your breathing, like for cardio training and stuff like that?
I don't think it affects like my cardio training, but since I broke my nose so many times when I was like younger, it definitely, I get congested a lot easier. Sometimes I have to clear my nose. I have to like pick it. It's like hard. I can't blow it all out. It's hard because it sucks ass. Yeah.
That sucks, man. Well, I mean, I had a buddy of mine used to do jujitsu with him actually, and he actually sings in the band Poison the Well. I don't know if you've heard them, hardcore band.
I've heard of that band before, absolutely.
Yeah, well, Jeff recently, he's had his years of just moshing and shows and jujitsu and everything. His nose was all kind of like crushed, and he recently got it fixed. And he's like, dude, I can work out again. I'm like, I'm a new person. Like, I breathe better. I have more oxygen. I'm like, I'm thinking clearer. I'm like, that's nuts. Yeah. You don't think about that,
Yeah. Speaking of Bloodsport, Josh Barnett's Bloodsport, for somebody, he's taken some beatings. He's gotten messed up in the past in some of those fights, and he looks fine. He doesn't look like a crazy not banged up fighter. You know, he's the baby face assassin still.
He's got good genes, those Viking genes. You know?
Yeah, yeah. 'Cause some guys like ex boxers or MMA fighters, you could just tell. You look at him, you're like, oh shit. Like,
they're barely there, man.
Yeah, no, the face just looks crazy.
Yeah. You got all the scar tissue. The eyebrows get all fucked up. I mean, look at Wanderlei Silva had to get the eyebrow surgery to like shave down all the scar tissue.
The ears get crazy looking, man. It's rough.
Yeah,
it's a rough look, man.
So have you ever considered, now that we're talking about fighters and everything, have you ever considered doing MMA?
Absolutely not. No.
It's too much to don't want to break the moneymaker?
It's not that as much as it's like, it's just, man, it's just think about like how much it would take so much focus and so much training and so much like I'd have to go like live on the West Coast and train with Barnett like nonstop. That would be like my goal, what I'd want to do, or I'd have to just be 100% focused on just doing that. I wouldn't be able to probably pro wrestle at the same time. I think it would take like everything I got to put into focus, and then it's like, after that, then what? Then do you keep going? I think I just reached the point where it's like pro wrestling is what I do. That's what I love. I love pro wrestling. I love MMA. I like watching it. I like following all the different, versions of MMA. Maybe I would do something different. Maybe not MMA. Maybe
jiu-jitsu tournaments,
pancrase or something like different. I don't know. It's just, but like the old rules when they used to do like the rope breaks and stuff. I ain't looking to go like banging in a cage, man. Like I'm all set. Like some of those guys are serious. I've trained with a lot of high level MMA fighters who all made it to the UFC, had a couple fights in the UFC, or was a UFC heavyweight champion like Josh, or all across the spectrum. I've done jiu-jitsu with these guys, or trained catch wrestling, or actual training, and I felt you could feel like how it feels to have to compete with someone like that, and it's no joke. So you realize like it would take a long time and a lot of training and a lot of like, repetitive work to get to that point. It's not just something you could just say, I think I'm going to try it. Maybe some people can, but I don't think I'm that type of guy.
Well, I think the whole world kind of saw someone try it and not really able to do it, because I guess he learned, like you said, it's hard, man. You can't just fucking
talking about Punk.
Yeah, I like the guy, but come on, like, we saw what happened. That wasn't enough training, dude. I don't care how, like 2 years, great. You need 5, 6 years.
No, I guess if you want to talk about Punk, it's like interesting because a lot of those guys like really respect the fact that like he hustled that and he made it happen and he tried. But like, what was it? I guess if you were in that position to get all that, make that much of a payday out of doing it, like why
I'd do it in a heartbeat. Yeah,
you know what I mean? And at least he like seemed like he really tried. I guess, but he got.
Oh yeah, he went and trained. I saw training videos. He went and did MMA training. But you need more. You need a lot of like amateur fights under your belt.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I think it was. I'm kind of in the. I'm sure. I don't give it whatever. I'm in the party of the. He should have absolutely probably had a few amateur fights before fighting in the UFC. I think just for like the respect of the sport, respect of the other fighters.
The same goes for pro wrestling too, man. Like you don't want to get some green dude that's been to like a year of classes and throw him in there with like a fucking Daniel Bryan or something.
Happens all the time, man. Now they're all just getting jobs now. Now all those people are just getting contracts. That's it.
So you've done work with WWE with the Evolve in the past, and is that something that you look into like for potential in the future, or are you good with what you got going on right now with New Japan and being kind of like being able to do Bloodsport, being able to show up?
I want to wrestle for New Japan. Honestly, that's where I want to make my main destination as far as pro wrestling is concerned. I don't really have interest in the WWE. To be honest, I'm just going to be honest. I know people would be like, "Oh my god,"
it's getting bad. I mean, I'm a fan, and I watched, I watch everything because I'm a fan of the sport. So I watch Ring of Honor, I watch New Japan, I watch WWE, I watch all of that shit. But I watched Raw on Monday, and I was just like, "Damn, dude, this is rough. Like, why are we talking about Cardi B? Why is Cardi B coming to the WWE? I don't need that in my life.
Well, depending on how you look at it, everybody has their own idea of what pro wrestling is or what pro wrestling should be. I know what I want out of it, and I know what I enjoy with pro wrestling. I know what where Chris Dickinson fits in, and where I belong. And I just enjoy being able to not have to, go down that road or feel like I should go down that road, or I want to just prove that you could live and you could make it not having to go that direction. In pro wrestling, it's possible.
For sure, man. For sure. And it's weird too, because, not to go back to them, but they had, like I said, they had those segments, or they're bringing in pop stars and whatnot. But then at the same time, that same night, you got two of the best indie wrestlers were wrestling each other on Prime, mid slot. It was Riddle and fucking Keith Lee.
Yeah.
I'm like, these are two dudes I've seen at PWG. I've seen them make the rounds, and everybody loves those guys. And here they are on that show, but also we have to put up with Bad Bunny.
Oh, I know. I mean, WWE and WWF, I mean, they've always done the same thing, realistically. If you really look at it, if you look at the history of it all, it's like they've always been it's always been the same deal, They the pop stars and the outside entertainment.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, even from the first WrestleMania,
it just goes with the times. You know what I mean? It evolves with the times and whatever's going on in pop culture at that given time. That's just the way it is. It's always been that way.
I think it's just me getting, tired of it and wanting more shit like New Japan, wanting more shit like Bloodsport,
I'll tell you the truth. I stopped watching the WWE when I was in high school because I didn't like the way that they were pushing everybody so fast. Mm-hmm. And then at the same time I started watching the indies, and like that's around the time Ring of Honor just started, like 2002. And then I started buying like the Japanese VHS tapes, and I just wasn't interested in like television wrestling anymore. And then I never became a week to week viewer ever again. I would like chime in here and there. And then I played in bands, going back to music. So I wasn't so much interested in wrestling for a few years, and I never watched it. I would watch it if like Ric Flair had a big match, or like when Hulk Hogan was having his run again, things like that. I was go watch it with friends, but I never really watched it like week to week anymore for like forever, to be honest. It's been a long time.
You played drums, right? You mentioned the band thing.
Yeah, I played drums.
Yeah. What bands were you in? Is there
just a couple of smaller bands. I was in a band with the lead singer from this band Exhumer at one point.
Okay.
We were pretty good, actually. We were like okay. I wasn't that into it, but it was fun. They was called Sun Descends. They were signed to like a label that had like distribution or something. I was in a thrash band here where I grew up with these kids. We were called Sanitarius. You can actually look it up on Spotify. Our EP is on there. That was like, kind of like shreddy, neoclassical thrash metal type stuff. But like, kind of like just Metallica. I just saw a lot of double bass and just real like teenage thrash metal.
Okay. Have you ever thought about doing it again? Like going back, starting a band?
I did. Over the years of when I was wrestling, I had a band called Crowbar Facelift. That was like a death metal band, but we played like covers. We played Morbid Angel covers, Deicide covers. Had a couple of originals. Had some fun live shows, but nothing really too extravagant. We never recorded anything. Then I was in a band with basically the same band except for one person. This band called Native Steve. More kids like I grew up with. A little bit different than Crowbar Facelift, but still kind of like death metal, thrash metal, grindcore, a little mix of everything, hardcore. That was a fun band. We played some shows. I have some footage of that online. We recorded an EP ourselves. I think like it's on, you could listen to the songs on one of those websites like Bandcamp or something, but we never like, we made some t-shirts, we made some stickers, man. We were just like friends that got together and played.
Right. Well, yeah, I mean, that's usually how it goes with metalheads. Like, it starts that way, and then eventually one of the bands gets picked up and, does it for the rest of their lives. But yeah, it's usually, if that's the career you're choosing, But what would you say is your favorite drummer in terms of inspiration? Like, who's like the guy for you?
I was so blown away, like, and I still am. I love it so much. I'll never not say I don't love it. It was my favorite, like, Abigail, King Diamond, Mickey D. Do you know Mickey D, the drummer from King Diamond and Motorhead? He was in Motorhead for years. That
Fuck
guy,
yeah.
he was like incredibly influential to me as a drummer. But I love obviously a lot of like the thrash metal guys and the death metal guys. I like a lot of the older guys too. I mean, you just name them, I could probably tell you if I really was a big fan. Like I love Alex Van Halen. I love like Tommy Aldridge. I love Steve Gadd. If you want to go in that direction, guys that I could just name off the top of my head that I really like. I love. I'm not like the biggest fan of Dream Theater, but like the first two Dream Theater albums, I love like Mike Portnoy. Dave Lombardo is probably the reason why I even wanted to play drums.
Fuck yeah, Dave Lombardo,
I mean,
man.
that's like the big one, right? Gene Hoglan, Sean Reiner. Forget about Pete Sandoval. That was like mind blowing. I was so into Derek Roddy. Derek Roddy, his exercise and like methods of practice. Me learning, trying to follow his methods of practice helped me become like a way better drummer. So Derek Roddy definitely was a huge influence.
Hell yeah.
I like a lot of drummers. Oh, Vinnie Paul. I mean, Vinnie Paul is this dude.
Vinnie's a legend, man. You know.
I mean, that's like. I mean, I was just listening. His stuff never gets old to me. Somebody asked me what my favorite Pantera song was before, and it's like I can't even put it on Spotify because my favorite Pantera song is off "I Am the Night." You know the song "Daughters of the Queen."
Daughters of the Queen.
It's one of like their 80s songs when Terry Glades was still in the band. Yeah.
Okay.
I love Pantera, man. That's one of my all-time favorite bands.
Dude, I love it. I went to go. I forget what town it is, but when I was in the band on tour, we stopped by Dime's tombstone. I think it's Arlington, Texas.
Yeah.
Yeah, we stopped in there, and at first, my buddies in the band were like, "Hey, man, we're gonna go see Dime's tombstone." I'm like, "Oh, okay." I didn't really think much of it. I was a big fan of Pantera, but I was like, all right, cool. And I wasn't expecting to feel anything. I was like,
it did something for you.
Oh my God, dude. The second we got out of the van, some of the dudes immediately like started crying and like touching the tombstone and all this shit. And as I'm walking up, I just got overwhelmed. I'm like, oh shit, this is where we're at. I got it. All right.
Yeah. When I think about the bands of my whole life that like I like the most, or a lot of the bands that I listen to a lot, and I think of like the bands that were the best, right? The bands that really were flawless, like they didn't have any flubs in the discography. Mm-hmm. Pantera, from Metal Magic, their first album, all the way through to Reinventing the Steel, they did not make a bad record. They made every album was another step above the other one. They all still sounded so badass, even when they were still playing kind of like that 80s style. And they just got better and better. And the one constant always on every record from when they were the just started till the end is Dimebag Darrell is always ripping it absolutely insane. So them, like I always put bands like them. Death is another band that like Death does not have a bad record. You could say ones are better than the others, but they don't have a bad album. I used to really feel that way about Morbid Angel. Then they made that really bad album with like the song Radical on it. Remember that one when they made the album again with David Vincent? But if you but the last Morbid Angel album, did you listen to that one?
Yeah.
That one is insane, dude. The new one with Steve Tucker. I like Steve Tucker Morbid Angel more than I like David Vincent Morbid Angel from back in the day, like Gateway to Annihilation, Formulas Fatal to the Flesh. But regardless, the original David Vincent albums, and then like the Steve Tucker albums, they like Morbid Angel was one of those bands I call them like a flawless band. They didn't have a bad album.
Nice.
So. Violence had that like kind of not so good third album. Dark Angel never had a bad album either. That's one of my all-time favorite bands.
I think I've heard Dark Angel.
That's Gene Hoglan's band before he was in Death. With like, come on, man, like you never heard the song Merciless Death or like Burning of Sodom?
I may have. That's right.
Yeah,
I'm trying to blank it out right now.
that's just like pure bludgeoning thrash metal. like Gene Hoglan. Think of how good Gene Hoglan is.
Yeah.
In the '80s, before like drum triggers and all that stuff, and it's just ripping it absolutely apart. Like they were amazing.
It's such an endurance I guess test when you're a drummer in a band like that, dude. You got to get in the craziest shape of your life because you're constant double pedaling.
Yeah.
And now, like you said, triggers can make it a little easier for some of them, but I
could tell, man. The triggers those guys, like someone like Gene Hoglan doesn't need drum triggers, or like any of those guys really. They don't. The guys that need the drum triggers are the guys like some of those death metal guys that played 30-second notes for like super super duper long periods of time, like where it's like bands like Hate Eternal or Nile. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But guys like that like Gene Hoglan, no way, man. He doesn't use drum triggers. He's just you could watch him play. It's just a matter of even not so much obviously endurance is a big part of it. It's a matter of like finding that zen comfort where you're completely comfortable and you're not exerting any energy, but where like you need it to be. That's playing double bass to me is because me, I get like really into playing and I like to rock out, and you can't when you play faster tempos or you want to play faster tempos for long periods of time. You have to be completely chill. You have to focus on what's going on, and you have to keep time. You just have to keep time, and you can't like play too fast. You gotta just stay cool and just keep breathing. It's like anything else, if you get tightened up, you're not gonna make it.
Right. Yeah, that goes for every combat sports and wrestling and everything. If you get all tensed up, man, it's no good.
Yep.
And I've always enjoyed the I guess like you were saying, the vibe that you get when you're in a band and everything just kind of clicks. Everybody's communicating kind of telepathically.
Oh yeah.
Those moments everybody just looks at each other and it's like, oh, I try to explain that to certain people that don't listen to music or don't listen to metal or have never been in a band, and I don't know how to tell them that without sounding weird. Like, yeah, it's a superpower. I don't know.
Oh yeah, I used to love writing originals. I used to love playing covers. I used to love doing everything, but it was times like I was blessed. I have a friend I played in a band with, a death metal band, and we were pretty awesome. That band, Crowbar Facelift. This kid's an amazing guitar player. I mean, he is like an unbelievably gifted guitarist, and he has like a PhD in music now. He's
nice. Teaches
tons of students. He's like a genius too. He's like one of those freaks that could do the Rubik's Cube really, really fast. He's like a total like nut. And he is an amazing musician, and he helped me up my game. He made me better in my instrument just by playing with him and him opening me up to things with music. Because my grandpa was a jazz musician. My grandpa taught like saxophone, clarinet. He gave drum lessons. He, a little bit of all that. I didn't really take to that stuff. I learned to play drums listening to like Metallica and Kiss and and Slayer. It's like how that type of music. So playing with this kid and getting a real taste of like all that other stuff and seeing how it's applied to the music I like to play and learning about different time signatures, hearing it in other music that I enjoy and starting to apply it to my own playing. It was like definitely a big help to be able to play with someone like that could make you so much better. Those are the moments I remember I felt like really like I was getting somewhere with drums.
Yeah. There's something about that, like working with people that are more talented or as talented as you, so that you guys can make each other better and grow together. It's insane. There's nothing like it. And keep going back to like I always compare pro wrestling to music all the time, just because it's to me it's such a parallel world. The touring, the road, the selling shirts out of your briefcase and shit. Like that's that's metal. That's what we do in bands. You tour and sleep outside and fucking at the beach, whatever to get you to the next gig.
Yeah. Finding sounds was always like a big thing I loved to do. And I got into like collecting and flipping like vintage drum sets when I was in my 20s, and a lot of cymbals. And I started working in like music retail, and I started like hooking up with like with Pearl, companies like that, and having like snare drums built, and really getting into creating sounds and just figuring out what sounds I really wanted. Like, because when you're young and you don't have any money at all, like no money, you just kind of have to settle for using like any cheap cymbals you could find, or not really understanding like how to build a sound palette out of cymbals, how to tune drums, and what heads to use on your drums, and exactly which ones you want to make it this certain wood sound this way, and learning how to figure out tones, and then getting into recording. I got lucky. One of those bands I was in, that thrash one, when I was about 18, Billy Graziaday from Biohazard produced our EP, and then he produced an album we did, and he was like managing us, and he had like a crazy studio I'd never been in before in my life, where like real bands went and recorded there. You know what I mean? Like I saw how the process worked really for the first time, and it humbled the shit out of me, because I never played to like click tracks before, and I sucked, and I was like, I need to get so much better. And it was like a learning process, and also learning how to like find tones, and building those ideas in my mind of like what did this symbol sound like as opposed to these symbols, learning about like how it's all made, just being a psycho over stuff, man, a nerd, just being a big nerd.
So when did what made you the switch from music to become a wrestler? Like why didn't you just continue down the music path?
I always wanted to be a wrestler, honestly. That was always like my number one life goal ever since I was a little kid. But I was so into heavy metal, and I got so into music. I tried learning how to play a few different instruments. Like I said, music is in my family. So like I picked up a saxophone. I tried to play in like the school band. I hated it. My grandpa would give me like saxophone lessons. I wasn't about it. I tried to play guitar. I didn't. It wasn't. I took guitar lessons. I didn't really like it. And then I was like, fuck it, like I really think like I could play the drums. It looks like something like I could do. And then I would got like a pad and just a Buddy Rich like rudiment book, and I would just read the book, and I would just teach myself how to play like the basic rudiments and the like single strokes and double strokes, and I would just practice them to a metronome, or practice them along to like Iron Maiden and Judas Priest and Metallica, or like songs where the tempo wasn't too fast, and I would just build up my chops in my hands that way. And after like doing that for a few months, my grandpa got me my first drum set, and that was it. I started teaching myself how to play the drums, and then I started taking lessons with a couple of different people locally. Like I started taking lessons with like this jazz guy. I learned a lot from the original drummer of the band White Lion. His name's Nicky Capozzi. He was this crazy like crackpot guy who lived in like what I guess was his parents' house, but like he was like an older man now, and like his whole like house was literally just giant like crazy 80 size drum sets everywhere, all set up individually with like the full deal of cymbals. Like I'm talking every drum set was like 2 bass drums, like 4 rack toms, 10 cymbals. And it was like, and you could just walk from like drum set to drum set and play on each one of these drum sets. And he would give me drum lessons, and he taught me a lot about getting like making my double bass faster, phrasing, fills, all sorts of stuff. Like he was a really good influence. And
Nice.
I just kept practicing. Me and my friends have a studio. Basically, I could still go to the studio right now. We've had this studio room for pretty much, so it's been probably like 15 years. We've all had a hand in this room, and we all like pay a little bit of money, and there's a group of us, and it's basically like if we ever want to go there and practice, you can. And there's all sorts of equipment that you could use, like amplifiers, a drum set. Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, it's like a shared kind of communal studio room that me and my close group of friends that I've played with for over all the years have always kept in the family, you know?
Gotcha. Yeah. So, but I mean, okay. So what was it that got you to switch to wrestling? Like, what was the official, like, was it a school thing? Was it just a local show? Was it like
I could do me with wrestling. I don't have to worry about 4 other people. You know what I mean? I don't have to worry about 3 or 4 other people. And my friends were assholes. You know, we sometimes we started not getting along with certain things, or understanding like we didn't with especially with the later bands I was in, we were so like elite and so like above anything that we just wanted to play for ourselves, play a few shows locally, and like sell out a few small bars where like 100 people could come and just fucking go absolutely batshit crazy. And that's it. Just do that and have a good time. Wrestling was just I have my friend Sean Maluda. He's in AEW.
Okay.
We went to karate together when we were little kids. He eventually became a pro wrestler, right? My friend Tyson, who was my tag partner, Jaka, we were Evolve Tag Team Champions, and he was the guy I was doing the WWE stuff with, kind of. He went to the same karate school. We all grew up together. We were little kids. And around the time I was like 18 years old, I wasn't into wrestling really at all, or thinking about pursuing wrestling. I was playing music seriously, and my friend Sean was gung-ho the whole time about wanting to be a wrestler because his mom's sister married off of the Wild Samoan, so he's like kind of married into the Samoan family, and he was a little younger than me. So at this point, he was like, "Listen, I'm trying to get into wrestling." Like, seriously, Tyson's going to get in it too now. We all used to backyard together. So he's like, "Tyson's getting into it too." And I'm like, "Tyson, really?" I didn't talk to him. Tyson was like my best friend, who became my tag partner. We hadn't been talking. We had a little bit of a fucking falling out over some shit, a riot that happened at a concert where I got into some trouble. I'm serious.
Shit.
Yeah. And with long story short, we weren't talking or something. So then eventually I was like, what? That motherfucker's getting into wrestling, and he's gonna like take it seriously like now, because he was always kind of like half in, half out, but he was mad good at karate. So we all started getting into it together. Like, and we're like decided we're gonna like give pro wrestling a real go. And at that point, I had already trained a little bit, because I started training when I was like in high school, when I was like 15, 16, you know. And at this point, I was like, all right, now I'm gonna really give it a real go. I started training with Little Guido, James Grantato. I started just bouncing around, training wherever I could, going to like open rings. I went to Harley Race's wrestling school for Pro Wrestling Noah, training seminars and things like that. Then we started Beyond Wrestling around that time. It was all like between 2007 and 2009. And I just wanted to be a wrestler, man. I love wrestling. I love wrestling so much. I saw Ring of Honor stuff that I hadn't seen because I just wasn't really paying attention. Like, I saw matches Kenta was having. I got like super into Pro Wrestling Noah, and I was just like, because I loved all this stuff like in the early 2000s, mid 2000s, and then I got like 3 years. You know, when you're like 19, 23 years is a long time now. It's like nothing, right? But I didn't watch it for a few years, and then when I started like seeing what was going on, I was like, fuck, like this is like wrestling is turned into a total fucking like Kenta is a big Kenta, you know Kenta, right?
Yeah.
Dude,
he's out there in New Japan right now.
Yeah, when I started, when I was watching Kenta in like Ring of Honor and Pro Wrestling Noah and all that, I was like, I can't believe people wrestle like this. This is insane. Like, what is good? This is really taking steps to evolving into something else completely crazy. So I was so influenced by it, and you know, it was, I got into working out, which none of my other friends that played music were really into, you know what I mean? I stopped drinking beers, you know, so I started kind of becoming like a healthy, fit guy, you know, getting more into that than so much getting playing music, you know.
Then playing music, partying, and treating your body like shit.
Yeah, doing drugs. I mean, like, dude, I can't even up until like now, like me and my friends are all in like our early 30s. I'll show up to I remember last year around this time, like right before I went to Japan or right after I went to Japan or whatever, I went to like a card game at my studio. Like, all my friends were playing poker for money, and like, I don't even want to tell you what these guys are doing. And I'm just like, what? I'm like, I can't even believe you guys are doing this still. It's just like, I thought shit was good. You guys were gonna, because I didn't live up here for like a couple of years. I was like, I can't believe you guys are still getting down like this, man. It's crazier than ever. You're supposed to be slowing down. Like, nobody's just sitting around playing NBA Jam anymore. Everybody's doing. Everybody's getting a little too crazy for me. It's past my bedtime.
Oh man.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, I can imagine, dude. I can imagine. I mean, I am not in that world anymore of partying up till 2-3 in the morning, but that was my life for many years with the band, and even going like after going to NAMM. Have you ever been to NAMM?
Oh no, I wish. I've heard so many good stories about that.
Oh my god, NAMM is like a whole day of Guitar Center, but the nighttime hangouts, that's where it's at. There's all the bands playing like smaller venues, and then they're all hanging out in hotel rooms, and the parties go for the whole weekend. It doesn't stop.
What do you play?
Stop. I used to sing in a band. I play keyboards. I play bass in another band where it's like a power violence type of band, grindy, sludgy. I'm starting a new project soon. I'm not going to make any announcements until we actually get together and write a song, but I'm still trying, because that was my life for 10, 11 years, touring and making music. And now it's been three years more or less since we kind of took a hiatus, and I haven't done shit.
That's cool.
So I'm like, I need to start something now, because
I get the itch too, man. I get the itch. Yeah. The beginning of the pandemic, I was playing a lot just by myself, like just playing a lot, because I had needed some sort of outlet when everything was just completely shutting down. There was no end in sight. I would just go to that studio room and I would sit there for like hours and just like look at the walls and be like, oh my God, what's going to happen in my life? Am I ever going to wrestle again? I was like, let me play along to Black Magic for the 10 millionth time in my life, or I play along to music that you wouldn't even imagine I would play along to, and I'll just sit there. It could be like an 80s J-pop song, and I'll just play double bass the whole time, because it's like the tempo just pleases me. So it's like, I could sit there, dude, and I could play exercise. But what am I going to fucking play exercise? I just put on the song and I'll just rip 16th notes through this entire verse, and that'll make me feel like I have somewhat chops. Then I'll text message with my friend Chicky, who I've been playing in bands with for years, and we'll be like, let's get together and play some Celtic Frost this week. Let's do it. Yeah, we're going to do it. And then we'll never get together. You know what I mean? That's the extent of my rock and roll living. It's like, yo, we got to fucking play this Forbidden song. You know that one? Or, yo, you want to jam on some Iced Earth? You know what I mean? Dude, that whole thing when he came out that he was at the thing, me and my friend got together. We had a little fun, and we like celebrated by listening to all of Night of the Storm Rider. And we were like, that's it from him. He's done. Shape was gone, man.
You were witnessing the end of his career.
The end of his existence. They probably wiped him off the face of the earth.
Yeah, dude, that dude, man. It's so funny because I saw, when the whole shit was happening, and I had a bunch of friends sending me articles and pictures, and before it was announced on like Metal Injection, my friend sent me a picture, and I'm like, that's John Schaefer. He's like, who? Dude, I'm like, oh my God, that's John Schaefer.
Like, dude, like in the camera, like,
oh my God. I was like, that's the dude from Iced Earth. And my friends are like, really? I'm like, yeah. And then like 20 minutes later, you see the article on Metal Injection. I'm like, oh shit, there it is. Yep, I was right.
Dude. I mean, like, what do you expect, man? Like, is it really surprising? Do you remember when they wrote that album, like all about American history and all that stuff?
Yeah. So no, I wasn't shocked. I was just kind of like, come on. It was just like, all right, well, that's over now.
I know. Hey, man, canceled. You know what? But that's the thing. With a lot of those bands, my fandom, like I was saying before, the great bands, right? The flawless bands where every album's great. A lot of the bands aren't flawless bands.
Mm-hmm. So Pantera's one of them. Pantera's one of them. Issues.
But I tend to take bands and I put them into like eras in my mind, and I only know them as that era, and I only care about them as that era. I don't even care about any of the bad stuff they've made. Like a band like a Death Angel, right? I just really like the first Death Angel album. I think it's one of the greatest albums ever made. Everything else they made, whatever. I don't care. Death Angel, though, the first album, unbelievable. Or like, the first 4 King Diamond records. I think they're all pretty awesome. If you really want to be stingy about it, we could go like the first 2 or 3. Like if you really want to be super elitist about it. A lot of bands, obviously the king of this way of thought is Metallica. The first 3 Metallica albums. That's it for me. Yeah. I don't like going past that point.
First 3 is Kill 'Em All, Lightning, and Injustice. Master of Puppets. You don't like Injustice?
I used to like it when I was young, and then as I got older, I just started to hate it. Honestly, I think it's.
I still like it. I mean, I still have that conversation in my brain of like, is that blackened time signature thing that happens midway through the song? I love it, but I'm always like, is that Lars or is that James? Like, who did that? Because I don't think Lars could do that.
Oh, I don't know.
He only did it once, I guess.
I think Anthrax was like unbelievable. Their first few albums, their first 3 albums are just absolutely batshit crazy insane.
I can't believe that dude's still going.
Speak English or Die is like a top 5 of all time for me personally. Yeah. That's like some classic stuff. Some of the stuff after Among the Living, it's like I could take it or leave it. You know, I think that they made some great music, but I hold the first like 3 like pretty high. Same thing with a lot of those bands. Lately, though, I've been coming back. I hated Slayer for like the longest time. Like I fell out of like liking Slayer. I was just like, oh, whatever. But lately, they've been like slipping back into my life. And dude, Hell Awaits. How insane is that album? That album is incredible.
That's a great album.
Classic.
That's a great album.
Classic.
Have you heard Lombardo with Mike Patton, the Dead Cross?
Oh yeah. And it used to be Fantomas and all that. Yeah. I used to be a huge Faith No More fan. I used to love Faith No More too. Yeah. So I like the Dave Lombardo, Mike Patton stuff.
The combo. Yeah, it's a good combo. Do you listen to metal all the time? Like, is that your workout music, or is there something that you switch out to?
Oh yeah, I listen to so much different stuff. But metal is always a constant theme in the listening and the playlist. Like, okay, my top 20 songs of 2020. Night Rider, Midnight Star. This is like a J-pop song. This is like an 80s city pop song. I'm not even going to pronounce it because it's you know. The Other Side of Madness, the Cro-Mags,
nice, yeah.
Modern Romance, this like new retro wave J-pop group called Satellite Young. I love Marty Friedman. You know Marty Friedman, the guitar player. I love his solo stuff. Shit, man. Overkill's on this list. Overkill, Yngwie Malmsteen's on this list. I love that album trilogy with like Magic Mirror and Fire. But I got like R&B songs on here. I've got Michael Jackson. I got Drew Down. That's like a old school West Coast rapper. Japanese shred guitar players. There's a Slaughter song on here. There's a DMX song, Method Man, Nas, a Japanese metal band called Sekima 2, more Cro-Mags, Anthrax, of course, Metallica. I still listen to some of that. The Alice in Chains, Pantera, just the classics, man. You know, I always think about this stuff. I'm like, why do I still listen to this stuff? Why do people still talk about this stuff? Because it's just that good. Sepultura. Do you remember this Christian metal band they were a thrash band called Deliverance? They're on this list.
The new Sepultura was tight. I don't know if you heard that. The newest Sepultura.
Yeah. Oh, that's one of my all-time favorite bands.
Yeah, dude. The newest album is really good.
Really? Like who's even in it anymore? Paulo Jr.
They have a new drummer called
Andrews Kisser. Their new drummer is insane. Yeah, their new drummer, the Jack dude.
Yeah.
He's fucking sick. I've seen like
his videos.
Yeah, he's incredible. He's insane, dude.
I couldn't believe it. Everything.
I didn't even know he was the drummer of Sepultura, and like I was watching his videos one day, and I was like, "This guy's so sick," and I was like, "Oh shit, he's the drummer of Sepultura." I was like, "Oh, good for him."
Check out Quadra. It's their new album, and I was like, I went into it skeptical. I'm like, "There's no way this is going to be good," and then it just blew me away. I'm like, "Oh fuck, all right, they're still going."
One of my all-time favorite bands, Black Sabbath. I've listened to a lot of the Ronnie James Dio songs all the time. That's on this list. Carnivore. Do you like Carnivore?
Yeah.
Typo Negative. Those are like 2 of my favorite bands. They're on this list. Shit, I got even a job for a cowboy song. I loved that one album. What the hell is that album called?
Son of Nihility.
Ruination. That album, Ruination, I thought was incredible. Oh, Nuclear Assault. That's one of my favorite bands. They're on here. Of course, I do love Biohazard. I know I talked about Billy before.
Yeah. Billy
Oh,
Biohazard.
ton, dude. Mr. Big, Queensryche, Loudness, all on this list. These are all my most listened to songs. So I mean, oh, I got Toto on this list.
Oh yeah. Well.
Symphony X, Iced Earth. Yeah, yeah,
Oh man. Fuck
yeah.
yeah, dude. That's a good mix of stuff. I mean, I hear a lot of Japanese. As you know, is that
Oh yeah.
after you started working with New Japan? Did you start discovering
No,
crazy artists?
I've been a Japanese nerd like forever, like all my
Okay.
life pretty much. I've been into like the wrestling, and then the wrestling kind of for the last like 20 years. And then the wrestling will kind of be like your gateway. Well, also video games too. Will be like a gateway for you to hear this like the music that that kind of like is the soundtrack to all this stuff, and a lot of it is like from back in the day more so is like shred guitar or like ripping like metal riffs and a lot of like shred guitar playing. So you start, and then also being into metal, you find out about Japanese metal bands. Everybody, you have to know X Japan, right? Or a band like Loudness. So you kind of build on that. One of those bands, Sekima 2, I learned about from Masato Tanaka, actually, out to eat with him in Japan. He was like, a Japanese heavy metal band? And he started telling me about this band, Sekima 2, and we put it on, and I was drunk in the little sushi restaurant. I was like, this sounds like a wrestling entrance. And I got up and I was like posing. It was fun.
Nice.
Yeah, so I like everything, man. I listen to all sorts of stuff all the time. I'm always listening to music. I got into really hard though the last few years. This whole like retro wave genre, this electronic synth wave. It's like it sounds. It's like 80s, 70s, 80s themed type of electronic music, and it really puts you in like that element. And there's a lot of good artists involved in that genre, and a lot of guys that are almost like I got into this one guitar player, and his name's it's Myrone. Myrone. I call him Myrone. Okay. It's like you listen to this guy, and it's like going to an arcade in the 90s, and like and you're listening to like the craziest guitar solos and synths and everything and ripping riffs. And it sounds so good. It's like dope shred metal. It's like Joe Satriani meets like Virtua Cop 2 or something meets like Daytona arcade racing machine, or meets like Super Monaco GP. It's fucking awesome, man. I like the way it sounds.
I gotta check it out. Yeah, I got into some synthwave stuff. Actually, it started with my wife. She was into it, and then I started showing it to some of the metal dudes, like some of the dudes in Municipal Waste, where like we were sitting around. They were doing.
Those guys.
Yeah, those are my homies, man.
I played a show with them once in that band I was in with the Exhumer singer in Brooklyn in a warehouse in like 2005 or 6, probably 2006. And it was fucking insane. And it was like before they were famous or became, more well known, Right. And goddamn, it was a fucking show. It was like in this shitty warehouse. It was not like a real venue. They were selling beer out of garbage pails. And it was fucking crazy. My friend jumped off of like a room that was built in the warehouse, like off the top of it, and it was high. It was high up in the air. It was a huge stage dive into a group of people. It was fucking crazy.
Yeah, they still go that hard, man. Like they were one of the last shows I got to see before the pandemic, and the crowd's just going crazy. And it's an intense show the whole time. Yeah. But yeah, we were listening to Carpenter Brute while they were doing like autographs for their new album or something, and everybody was like, what the fuck is this? This is awesome. I'm like, yep, it's that. What's the other guy? Perturbator's pretty cool because he's kind of a metal dude. But yeah, I like that stuff. But I wanted to go, let's talk a little bit about wrestling before we hang up. I mean, it's been almost an hour now.
I know, crazy. I'm sorry, we're not even talking. Josh is going to be like, what the fuck are you talking about? You're talking about
Bloodsport. Way to promote the show, guys.
Yeah, way to promote the show, guys. Sorry, man. I don't know. He actually said he was like, oh, you're going to talk about metal with that guy for sure. And I was like, all right, cool.
Yeah, dude. No, I love Josh, and I've had him on before. I always do a special whenever he does Bloodsport. I try and talk to as many of the guys and try to promote. Yeah. So he knows I'm going to be watching. He knows that anybody that's listening to this podcast is going to be watching. So, but talking a little bit about it, you're doing a lot of stuff with New Japan lately, and how do you feel about what's going on with like AEW, where like Kenta's over there now fighting Mox, and Mox was at Bloodsport, the last Bloodsport. So like that everything's starting to come together. All the companies are starting to work together. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, it's interesting. That's the thing, is like you don't really know to what capacity they are going to work together, because it's not like, I don't know, I'm in the know of that, or if there isn't in the know, or how extensive it's going to be, or if it's just like Kenta working with all these companies, and if so,
Right.
good for Kenta, first of all, if that's what Kenta wants to do, and it's just more exposure for him, because he was somebody who was whatever happened with WWE, I would have imagined Kenta to have been their biggest star from Japan for sure. So whatever,
they fucking messed that up.
I mean, he is the best. So good for him, whatever he's doing. I think it's awesome. I think it's cool that there could be some cross promotional stuff, because if WWE is going to continue to just exist on their own island, and that's it, why not should these other companies get together and maybe do a little cross promoting and mixing it up? It's only going to make things more interesting, because you're probably never ever going to see that again happen in WWE. So
until that old man dies, I think maybe then somebody will have a conversation. But while Vince is around, I don't think that's happening.
Who knows, man? Who knows?
Yeah, I think it's great. I love seeing it. I love seeing what New Japan is doing also in the U.S. with, it's a lot of the SoCal dudes. A lot of the dudes I'm used to seeing at PWG or PCW Ultra or, any of the local shows, Bar Wrestling. Which I missed, dude. Did you ever you did a Bar Wrestling, didn't you?
I like 3 different shows, 3 or 4 times I was over there.
That's one of my favorite like local things to go to.
It was a fun time. Show. It really was. I'm not gonna lie. It was a good show for sure.
Yeah, it was everybody's standing room. There's $5 beers. Everybody's wasted, and people are doing like Scorpio Sky's breaking fucking chandeliers all over the crowd. I'm like, we're all gonna die.
Yeah. That place was a good time.
Yeah, man, that was fun. But so do you plan eventually to kind of move to Japan, like, or make that kind of like the full-time thing over there?
I would love to be honest. Yeah, I would absolutely, jump at the opportunity if there was to come, depending on obviously the situation and what they want me to do. But yeah, if it came down to it, I would be open to staying over there for a rather extended period of time.
Do you speak the language?
No. I could get through a small conversation, but that's just because I talk to at least like one Japanese person every day. So, and that's not counting others, but we obviously could cheat on the phone and use translators and stuff. Right, yeah. I try to be diligent about like knowing like basic communication. And you watch so much stuff, you start to hear words over and over and over again, and understanding like the context in which they're being used. It makes it a little easier, but I'm sure it starts to like come like way faster if you're like living over there. Obviously.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. If you're using it every day, or like you have to use it every day, it's a difference.
Yeah.
I've been
intimidating. It's very intimidating.
I've always been fascinated with it. I took two semesters of it in school.
Oh wow.
I work at a Japanese company right now. I'm not going to say the name, but we're exposed to it every day as well. And I love the language. I love the culture. Like I would love to move over there if I could, but I don't think that's a possibility for me.
Yeah. It's kind of like my goal, man. I just want to get the hell out of here. I don't have any ties to anything. Like I'm single. I don't have like a family, or like I have like obviously my family, but not like I don't have like kids or anything like that. So
surprised that no one's taking advantage of the dirty daddy.
Yeah, I'm all set, man. Not going down. I'm too in love with wrestling. I'm too big of a nerd. I'm too into my stuff, man. I'm too focused right now. Focused on like training, saying my prayers, taking my vitamins, pro wrestling, baby. I mean, I have too much pro wrestling to watch. I'm like, I don't know. I love training. I love just like having something to do every day. I don't have enough hours. There's not enough hours in the day to also be responsible for another person's needs as well for me right now. So I have to just do my own thing right now. That's it.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
And this match coming up with you at Bloodsport, it's with Jeff Cobb. It's a big boy.
Oh yeah.
That's a big boy. Lays it in.
Yeah, he's strong.
He's a strong man. How is it working with him, and just with the Bloodsport situation, how it is, where it's more shoot than it is work? Like, is it painful? Like, you're hurting?
No, you gotta think about it. So I've wrestled Cobb before in the context of more of a pro wrestling match, idea of what a contemporary, I don't know, pro wrestling match would be. We wrestled a long time ago though. It must have been like 5 years, and maybe 5 years or so. You got to think about Cobb's background. He's a seriously accomplished amateur wrestler. I'm going up against a guy that has supreme grappling ability. He's obviously super strong. He's really athletic for his size. I have to really be on my A game, because it's going to be a match at Bloodsport. It's going to hit a little bit different than a match at maybe somewhere else, and something where the core root of what we're doing is something where it is mostly all just grappling, you know what I mean? Or a lot of it could be a lot of grappling. So I'm going to be tied up with this guy that's this accomplished Olympic level wrestler at one time. That's a feat for me, because I'm not an Olympic. I don't have an Olympic credential amateur wrestling background. So I have to really be prepared for something like that,
Yeah, man. And you're coming off of, the last Bloodsport against Mox, who, don't like blowing too much smoke up people's asses, but, the guy's got all eyes on him right now. And you working with him and giving it to him the way you did at that match, that puts you on the next level, man. That's got to put a lot of eyes on you, and it's got to have people reaching out.
Yeah, I definitely think my profile was raised tremendously from wrestling John Moxley and that match and that Bloodsport and all the stuff that went into that and all the press we did for it. It was incredible. And I'll never forget, honestly. It was a really, really fun time leading up to the match, training with Josh around that time period, and really taking some major steps forward in progressing myself as a professional wrestler. Went into that Bloodsport event, went into my training with Josh, and just talking about pro wrestling and discussing what pro wrestling could be, what it should be. Really starting to really get the foundation solid of what Bloodsport is and what Bloodsport really has the potential to be. And I think that's what I'll remember the most about that, and how important all of that was to me at that time. And obviously the result was incredible. Obviously for me, things have been going great for me. Thankfully, it's a rough time, but I'm very thankful for the fact that I've been able to find opportunities, at a time when there aren't a lot of opportunities. So.
Yeah.
Josh Barnett's Bloodsport and that match and everything that we've done so far with Bloodsport has definitely, for me personally, and you're seeing it in others as well, it's raising the profile of the athletes that are involved.
For sure. Even Mox, man, because, people think Mox goes in there and, okay, he's an AEW champ, so he's on TV, he's at the top or whatever, but that changes the way people see Mox. The fact that he's willing to go in there and throw down with you at a Bloodsport, that's oh, well, fuck, this is more of a serious respect than just the wacky dude from WWE that's been trying to be, it changes that whole perspective.
I mean, listen, Moxley, he doesn't need my endorsement.
Yeah.
But he's a really good guy. He's doing it because he wants to do it. Right. Moxley came to train with me, Josh, a couple other guys, Harry Smith, Royce Isaacs, Alex Coughlin was training on different days, guys alternating, but Moxley was there every day with me and Harry and Josh. And he shows up and he wants to train. He wants to learn. He's no different than he's the biggest wrestling superstar in the world, right? I mean, he's really, you say he's one of those, he's up there. He's
wasn't he in the magazine, the thing,
the
wasn't he
top,
ranked
whatever.
number one?
He's a superstar. He's a megastar of wrestling. He's just a humble guy, just shows up, wants to do work, wants to learn. He believes in what we're doing, and he's just being a part of it. I think that's awesome. That says so much. It says so much when someone at that level who could pick and choose what they want to do, you know what I mean? How they want to do it, where they want to go, when they want to go. You know, he wants to come to a MMA gym in Los Angeles to train with a couple guys, and he wants to be a part of Josh Barnett's Bloodsport and help, you know, turn this into a bigger thing. And also for himself, he wants to test himself, even at his level, his experience and all the things he's accomplished at this point. He's still trying to find, like, you know, maybe something more, maybe something else about himself. And I think that's the beauty, or that's the cool part about Bloodsport and about Josh Barnett's Bloodsport, because that's the cool thing about Josh is that guy who is like, no matter how good you are or how good you think you are or whoever you are, Josh is the guy who could tell you, you could probably do that a little bit better, or no, try this instead. And one thing a lot of people don't realize nowadays in this world, in a lot of things, is nobody wants it. Everybody just wants to feel like what they're doing is the right thing. That they don't want anybody telling them that they're doing anything wrong. You know, everybody just is, no, I got the right idea. Look at how people argue on the internet. You know what I mean? The older we get, we have less people telling us, like, yay, clean up your shit, or hey, this could be better, or hey, you're better than this. You know, I think Josh is like, he kind of like takes on that role with a lot of people in a way, and you know, we need people like that in life. So like I said, Bloodsport's raising profiles of guys. I mean, it's making people better wrestlers. You know, anybody who's kind of involved and around Bloodsport, whether it's working the shows, you know, getting to know Josh, training with Josh, you know, Bloodsport is nothing but positive things, honestly.
Yeah, man. I'm stoked to see that it's growing. It's getting bigger. More shows are happening. You know, we're getting 2 shows back to back, really. Yeah. We're getting the one coming up on the 13th, the day before Valentine's Day, and then there's one the following week. And, you know, I know, and Josh is one of those dudes that he's got so much going on, you know, because he's acting and stuff, and he's doing the Bloodsport, and he's doing the whiskey, and he's, you know, he's
bourbon.
Sorry, bourbon. My bad. Now he's got bourbon, and he's working on some other stuff with
those distillers. I went to the distillery one time with him, and I saw how it's done, and it is no joke. I sat there for like hours with him and the guy who used to be in like cancer research, who's like a mad scientist, and he makes the stuff. And this other girl came who just tastes it and like writes reviews about it. And they were sitting there smelling, and I was tasting it. Dude, it is insane. That's a whole other side of his thing, where it's like, whoa, man, this guy's got layers.
Yeah. Nobody fucks with Josh, dude. Everybody that I talk to, where you bring him up, everybody's like, oh shit, really? And like, yep. He's the man, and I love what he's doing. I hope we get to see more Bloodsport stuff, and I know that you'll be a part of it because you've been in all of them. So I'm hoping that, you know, it keeps going for you.
Absolutely.
I'm excited to see your career with New Japan blossoming and getting bigger and bigger.
Thanks.
And dude, yeah, I wish you nothing but the best. You're one of the top stars right now in pro wrestling, I would say. And
it's wild to hear it. Thanks.
Yeah. And I appreciate you taking some time to chat, man. You know, I knew that we would have a good time talking shit about metal, and hopefully this is Josh doesn't get too mad about how much metal we talked about.
No, it's okay. I'm sure he'll be fine with it. He loves metal. He does. He genuinely does love metal. He gets so into it. When he talks
that's how I met him.
When he talks about music, he becomes like a little kid sometimes.
Hell yeah, that's how I met him. I met him at a fucking Killswitch show. That's how I ran into him backstage. I'm like, holy shit, it's the Babyface Assassin. He's like, oh yeah. I'm like, fuck yeah. I'm like, all right, cool. And we kept running into each other at shows because, you know, that I'm always back there, and dude, and now we're friends. That
was how we first hit it off. We like worked together on the first Bloodsport show I did, but we didn't really talk, maybe a little bit. But then he came to a GCW show we did in LA, and we started talking in the back. And the next thing I was like, I think like 2 hours went by, and we were just talking about Merciful Fate and like stuff like that. And I was like, wow, he's a really cool guy.
Hell yeah, man. Yeah. Well, brother, thanks again. Have a good night. And I'm looking forward to the match on the 13th. Everybody watching and listening, please, bloodsport.watch. That's the website to order the pay-per-view. Where do people find you on the internet?
At Born Dirty Die Dirty on Instagram and at Dirty Dickinson on Twitter.
Dirty Dickinson. Where did that come from, real quick?
What? Dirty Daddy?
Dirty.
This guy I used to work out with, man, his name is Jesse. He used to go to my gym. He's actually like banned from my gym now. But he's jacked, this kid. Back in the day, he was really strong, just naturally a freaky dude. He could just like outlift you and out rep you and with perfect form. Just a jacked, solid Viking kid. And anytime he'd do a set, I couldn't do as much, whatever. He'd always pat you on the back and be like, "Don't worry, Daddy's here for you." And I'd say to myself, damn, that's such a good line. I was like, I got to work that into a promo somehow or something. And I kind of just put it together, Dirty Daddy. I made a T-shirt and a lot of people bought it. And I was like, oh, I guess this is it. And people started chanting it, Dirty Daddy. And I was like, all right, this is it. It's a name.
Nice. Fuck yeah, brother. Well, Dirty Daddy, thanks again. Everybody follow him online. Make sure to order the pay-per-view. Josh Barnett's Bloodsport, February 13th. Cheers, brother. Have a good night.
Take it easy, bro.
Later.